It's Halloween night in 1919. There are no horror movies in theaters. No Dracula. No Frankenstein. No werewolves haunting the silver screen. Instead, Halloween is playful, silly, and surprisingly charming. For many Americans in the 1910s and 1920s, this wasn't a night to scream. It was a night to laugh, flirt, and gather with friends. A time when community halls, parlors, and barns filled with orange and black streamers, cheerful pumpkin faces, and games that promised a glimpse of your romantic future. Before scary movies defined the holiday, Halloween was more about whimsy than fear. The decorations, much of what we now consider classic Halloween style, actually began in this era. A company called Dennison Manufacturing was at the heart of it. Their famous Bogie books were part catalog, part party guide, showing families how to decorate with paper streamers, lanterns, and cutouts. The colors orange and black became standard. Because of these catalogs, orange for autumn and harvest, black for mystery and night. Pumpkins were painted with wide smiles. Black cats arched their backs, but looked more cheeky than frightening. And witches flew across the pages with playful grins in many homes. Decorations were still homemade, crepe paper garlands, hand-cut, silhouettes, or carved pumpkins lit with candles. But thanks to Dennison, even modest families could transform their parlor into a festive space. And small towns across America began to share one visual language for Halloween. It wasn't about terror. It was about festivity, color, and a little sprinkle of the supernatural. The games now. What did you actually do at a Halloween party in 1915 or 1925? You played games. And not just any games. They were often tied to love, marriage, and fortune-telling. Imagine a group of teenagers giggling around a fireplace, tossing nuts into the flames. This was the nut-burning game. Each nut stood for a person. If the two nuts burned together, it meant the couple's love would last. If they popped apart, well, maybe it was a bad match. Or picture a girl walking backward down a dark hallway, holding a candle and a mirror, hoping to catch a glimpse of her future husband's face. These rituals mixed superstition with play, turning the night into something between a sleepover prank and a seance. Other games were sillier, bobbing for apples, pulling cabbages from the garden to predict what kind of partner you'd have, or eating an apple strung from the ceiling without using your hands. The emphasis was always on laughter, matchmaking, and community fun. Halloween wasn't frightening. It was an excuse to flirt. The costumes, and then came the costumes. Forget the plastic masks and store-bought outfits we know today. In the 1910s and 20s, costumes were handmade and whimsical. Children and adults alike dressed as farmers, clowns, gypsies, fairies, and animals. A pillowcase might become a tunic. Paper hats were folded and painted, and faces were decorated with charcoal or grease paint. Old photographs show groups of kids in mismatched, colorful outfits that look more like a harvest pageant than a horror parade. Costumes were meant to be funny, playful, and eye-catching, not terrifying. It was theater, not fright night. Food culture. And of course, no Halloween party was complete without food. But remember, this was before mass-produced candy. Bars were the prize of the night. Instead, the food was homemade, hearty, and often part of the games themselves. Picture a long farmhouse table filled with popcorn balls, molasses taffy, apple cider, donuts, and cakes. Sometimes a mystery cake or fortune pie would be served with little charms baked inside. If you found a ring, it meant marriage. A button, a bachelor's life. A thimble, you'd stay single. Food wasn't just to eat. It carried symbolism, fortune, and fun. Sharing these treats was a way of reinforcing community ties, reminding everyone that Halloween was less about individual thrills and more about togetherness. So, what was Halloween before scary movies? It was colorful, cheerful, and deeply social. A holiday built on laughter, love, games, and the shared joy of decorating and dressing up. Fear only came later in the 1930s, when Hollywood horror films like Dracula and Frankenstein redefined the mood of the holiday. And mass commercialization added the spooky edge we now associate with the season. But in the 1910s and 20s, Halloween was whimsical. It was hopeful. It was a night to play, to flirt, and to bring a little magic into everyday life. A reminder that before we shivered in the dark, we laughed in the candlelight.